Hey there, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into the absolutely incredible forces that shape the very ground we live on. From those soaring mountain peaks to the vast flat landscapes, every single feature on our planet tells a story. So let's kick things off with a simple question. Really think about it. Why isn't our world just a smooth, perfect marble floating in space? It's bumpy, it's rugged, it's got all these amazing features. And you know what? There's a fascinating reason for that. And here it is. This is the key. The Earth's surface, what scientists call the lithosphere, it isn't static at all. It's actually in a state of continuous, almost invisible movement. It's a constant process of being built up and then torn right back down again. So, here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll look at the fundamental forces at play. Then, we'll journey through the three major landforms. That's mountains, plateaus, and plains. And finally, we'll see how all of this shapes where and how we live. Okay, our journey begins with these two incredibly powerful processes that are in a constant tug of war, sculpting every single landform you've ever laid eyes on. This breaks it down beautifully. So on one side, you have these internal processes. These are forces from deep within the Earth that literally push the surface up, creating mountains and plateaus. But at the same time, you've got external processes, things like wind and water, that are constantly wearing the land down. We call that erosion. And then they rebuild it somewhere else by dropping all that material, which is called deposition. It's this amazing, endless cycle of creation and recreation. And that brings us to our first stop. Let's start at the highest points on the planet, the truly majestic mountains. So what actually makes a mountain a mountain? Well, generally speaking, it's a natural elevation that's over 600 meters, that's about 2,000 feet, high. They usually have a pretty small peak, or a summit, and a really wide base, just rising dramatically from the land around them.
All right, so how do these massive structures even get built in the first place? Well, the basic idea behind how some of the world's biggest mountain ranges were formed can be explained with a really simple analogy.
Just imagine taking a stack of paper and pushing it from both sides. What happens? It buckles and folds upwards, right? Well, that is pretty much what happens when the Earth's massive tectonic plates push against each other. The crust just bends and rises, creating these incredible folded peaks. It's a perfect example of the sheer power of those internal forces we were just talking about. But, of course, not all mountains are made that way. There are really three main types. We just covered fold mountains. But then you have block mountains, which form when these huge blocks of earth get pushed up or drop down along faults in the crust. And finally, you've got volcanic mountains, which, you guessed it, are built up from layers and layers of erupted lava and ash. All right, pop quiz time. What is the tallest mountain on Earth? I'm sure an answer immediately popped into your head. But are you sure it's the right one? Because if you said Mount Everest, you're in for a little surprise. Now, while Everest is the highest mountain above sea level, it's not actually the tallest from its base all the way to its peak. The true champion is Mauna Kea in Hawaii. It's actually an undersea volcano, and when you measure it from its base on the ocean floor, it's over 10,000 meters tall, which is significantly taller than Everest. It's just that most of its incredible size is hidden beneath the waves. How cool is that? But mountains are so much more than just beautiful scenery. They are absolutely vital to life on Earth. Think of them as massive water towers. Their glaciers feed the rivers that give us water for farming and for hydroelectric power. Plus, they're hotspots for biodiversity and, of course, huge hubs for tourism and recreation. All right, from the peaks, our journey is now going to take us to a different kind of high ground, the vast, flat expanses that we call plateaus. So a plateau is basically a tableland. It's an area of high elevation, but here's the twist. Unlike a mountain, it has a large, flat top. It stands way up high above the surrounding landscape, often with these really steep slopes on one or more sides. And just to give you a sense of scale, the Tibet Plateau is often called the roof of the world. It's the highest and largest plateau on the entire planet, stretching for thousands of kilometers at an average elevation that's actually higher than most mountains in Europe. And just like mountains, plateaus are incredibly useful. They are absolute storehouses of mineral wealth. A lot of the world's major mining areas for things like gold, diamonds, and iron are found in plateaus. And some, the ones formed by ancient lava flows, have this incredibly fertile soil that's just perfect for farming. Okay, now we're going to descend from the highlands to our final landform, the low-lying flat plains. And this is where the vast majority of humanity actually makes its home. So how are these huge flat areas even made? Well, it all comes back to that external process of erosion and deposition. You've got rivers rushing down from mountains, carrying all this eroded material like silt and sand with them. Then, when the rivers hit lower ground and slow down, they drop that whole load. Over thousands and millions of years, these deposits build up and up to create these deep, incredibly fertile plains. And this combination of fertile soil and flat land, that's the magic formula. It is perfect for farming, perfect for building cities, and perfect for creating roads and railways. It is absolutely no accident that the great cradles of human civilization all grew up in river plains. So let's bring it all together now and take a look at the direct connection between these different landforms and the patterns of human life across the globe. I mean, the contrast is just stark. Life in the mountains is often really difficult, right? The climate is harsh, the slopes are steep, there's not much flat land for farming, so they tend to be thinly populated. But plains, on the other hand, they provide pretty much everything we need to build communities. Fertile land for our crops and flat ground for our houses and roads. And that's exactly why they are the most densely populated areas on Earth. And that really brings us to our final thought. As we use all of these landforms, building our cities on plains, mining resources from plateaus, drawing water from mountains, we have a massive responsibility. These landscapes were shaped over millions of years, and this quote is a perfect reminder that it's our duty to be careful stewards of these incredible, life-giving features of our amazing planet.